Hello, everyone in Artfully Connected. Thank you for being with us tonight here in Artfully Connected. And we will have a wonderful program for you tonight. I want to welcome Miss Brenda Stewart.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you for being here, Brenda. It's such a pleasure to have you here. And so where we can get to learn a little bit more about you. I promise not to give you any hard questions.
Okay.
I want to just do one thing. There we go. Okay, so the first question is, tell us where you're from.
I'm from Williamsburg, Virginia. We've been here for about 21 years.
Awesome. And so you love it there? You're happy?
We love it. Yeah, we really do. It's the first place I've ever lived that has all 4 seasons.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Do you find them inspiring?
I do. Particularly fall, because growing up in South Texas and living in South Louisiana for so many years, we didn't have a lot of fall color. So, and I love fall colors. So,
Cool.
yeah, I like the seasons.
That's great. Here's the next question. Did you come from an artistic family?
Yes, I would say that. My father was an architect, and he drew, he sketched, he also did wood carvings. He did not work in color. My mother was a musician, and my grandmother was a china painter. So, you know, there's a history there, and you know, being exposed to these things is a whole lot of it, a lot of the picture.
So she was a musician. She sings. She plays instruments.
Piano.
Did you learn how to play piano?
Yes. In fact, I carried a double major at university in music and art. So.
Oh, wonderful.
But I was working in the vocal part of it mostly. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love music. I can't live without it.
I do too.
So like, when did you start, you know, so you obviously, because your parents were so artistic and different in the different, I call them languages, you know, carving is a language and music is a language. And so when did you, obviously you must have started experiencing artistic abilities at a very young age. You were surrounded by it all the time. Is that, so that's when it all developed in you?
All right. And Dad, my father got me into art classes, starting when I was about 7. He was a pretty charming Irishman who could talk teachers of adult classes into taking a young child. So he could talk anybody into almost anything. So I was fortunate, and I had his support in the art part of everything.
That is wonderful. So what medium did you like start to explore your artistic ability?
Well, first in sketching and charcoal, and then watercolor. Just it would depend on what classes he could find for me. So those were the first things that I tackled.
Cool. So I have, so charcoal to me is very interesting. I love that work and I've never tried it. So you were at a very young age able to draw what you saw.
Right.
Wow. That
pretty much.
I don't do that. So I've always admired that.
Well, like I say, I think being exposed to it and watching him, all of that contributed.
That's wonderful. My daughter had there used to be a program on every Sunday morning called Captain Bob up in New England. And he was, I think, from Massachusetts, the Cape area. And he used to draw every morning, and she would sit there and draw with him, and it'd be amazing. But the minute I said anything about it, she stopped doing it. She was embarrassed.
no.
It's okay.
I
I just
want
want to
to practice. I mean, you learn to draw what you see.
yeah. Yeah, well, yes and no. My sister and brothers both drew. I just never developed that aspect. I can, with a medium, I can create it better than I can draw it first. Like I do my line drawings after something. Don't ask. And I just want to
Everybody has a different way of approaching.
I just want to take a little commercial break and say thank you everyone for joining us. We have like 36 people here tonight.
Really?
If you have any questions for Brenda, we welcome them. So please just put them in the comments section and we will ask them for you. And if we cannot get to all of them in this hour, she will come back. Miss Brenda will come back and she will read them and she will answer them via texting to you, replying to your comments. But please go ahead and ask your questions and we will try to fit them in the program. So thank you all for coming. Okay, the next question is, which artists influenced you as you were getting more and more into the arts?
Of course, many artists as a child growing up, and I always loved illustrations and loved looking at paintings and kind of soaked up everything. My high school art teacher, I grew up in Texas, and at that time, the arts were well funded. I don't know that they still are, but my high school art teacher was a great influence on me, Dr. Jack Russell, and he really encouraged me to try a lot of different things. Once I got into decorative painting, and that's another whole story, but anyway, once I got into decorative painting, we had moved to Louisiana, and I kind of just went and studied with a smattering of decorative artists that I admired their work, mainly to see how they structured their paintings to teach in a decorative painting venue, because coming from a fine art background is a little bit different. But many times they don't do a lot of teaching. But anyway, I think we have it over the fine artist as far as instruction is concerned. So I was lucky enough to take from Joanne Johnson one time, and Pat Clark before she passed away. There were two watercolorists that worked a long time ago in the decorative painting industry, Sonia McKenzie and B. Brown McHugh. And those were the two watercolors that I took for. That was the one that I just couldn't figure out. One medium I couldn't figure out how I was going to structure for decorative painters. So yeah, just a lot of people that have influenced you over the years, and so many beautiful painters within this industry that you admire their work so much.
Wow. Yeah, we do have a lot. I have to agree with you. So here's a question that's kind of a spin-off of that last one, is what artist in your lifetime had the most impact on you? So you were influenced by many of them, but could you pick one that actually had the most impact on you? Was that your teacher or?
Well, I would have to say, as far as impacting what I do now, there was an oil painter. She was a canvas painter. She worked in the decorative painting market. She's deceased now. Alva Pittman was her name. And I studied canvas painting with her, and she was my adult encourager and the one who pushed me to go further. I started teaching local classes when I was about 24 years old, but she pushed me into publishing and doing shows and taking a little bit further. And she was I wish every painter now could be familiar with her work. She did gorgeous canvas work.
I think that's the difference about today's versus then, because we can record our teachings and then that kind of is preserved forever. So wouldn't it be nice to just be able to pull up a video of her teaching you how to paint, you know, a design? Wouldn't it be?
I wish, yeah.
I can just, you know, my heart melts thinking about it. So that would be wonderful to do. So I'm so glad, because you're leaving a legacy here with your artwork. And now that you can record it and that we can offer them live, it's a legacy that for years to come, they'll be able to pull back up, hopefully, and paint with you.
Wow,
It'll be beautiful. So when did you, so when was that turnabout when you actually did start decorative painting and you know, taking the classes from these teachers that you admired?
Well, when we moved to Louisiana, there were no secondary music positions available in the school systems. So I got back into my art, and I wandered into a little decorative painting shop one day that wasn't far from my house, and the lady was teaching a group, and they were all happy with what they were doing, which is not always true of children who are in school. So that I took there for a little while, and then she hired me to create mini canvases. And the little mini canvases were 4x5s and 5x7s, and they were a hot commodity for all of the shops, because they could buy ready-made frames and sell frames, and we would have 25 with a waiting list of 25 in the classes. And that's how I got eased into decorative painting, really. And from there, it just sort of took off. Not always decorative painting. I still taught some watercolor and I taught some canvas classes. But once I started going to shows and exploring decorative painting, I thought, you know, these people are all happy to be here and they want to do this. It's not being forced on them or anything. So it just was a natural fit, I think.
So you went from just painting to actually right into teaching.
Right.
Like boom, right into it. And then, so I mean, were you a designer from the get-go? Were you designed from?
I designed the mini canvases for this shop, and they were something that she would go away to a seminar and take a certain number of them. When you have people who come all day and they can paint as many mini canvases as they can in a day and not get up out of their seats and pay a certain amount for each canvas, you quickly run out of material. So she hired me to do new little landscapes and little florals and things for the shop so that she could sell more frames. So, and it was, like I say, it was a hot commodity at the time in the shops.
I believe you. I would understand why. So that they love the canvases and stuff like that. So that is, it's amazing how it blows my mind. You just went right into it like it was natural, just boom.
Well, being an educator primarily of one sort or another, you know, it's not so difficult to segue into something, learn it, and then begin to teach it. So
yeah. I kind of feel almost the same way. Obviously I'm no Brenda Stewart by any stretch of anyone's imagination, but when I started taking lessons here and I was helping someone do their homework, I was teaching her more about how I interpreted the teacher's teaching. That makes sense. Right. And she's like, wow, I'm learning more from you than I'm learning in class.
Yeah.
You know, so I just naturally just started.
Growth experience. Teaching pushes you to grow. So
yes.
And it teaches you to keep working because you got to stay ahead of the students. So
right. So here's this. What is your favorite subject matter?
I knew you were going to ask that.
What do you like painting the most?
Probably whatever I'm working on at that particular moment. But I enjoy faces, obviously, and Santas. and florals. And still life. I love still life because it's such a good teaching tool. You can teach so much theory and give so much color information in still life, but and I like sharp focus still life better than anything else, you know, more realistic, sharp focus still life.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, rather than loose. I admire people who do the loose still life, but it turns into sharp focus whether I want it to or not when I do it. So, you know.
So is that kind of the difference between, like I'm thinking of some of the things you did, like in the back with the pewter and the fruit, that's sharp versus a more almost abstract or you know, slip slappy kind of painting?
Very realistic.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that, and it sounds like you have tried so many different mediums in your career. Do you happen to have a favorite medium?
I still love watercolor, but and it was a natural segue for me into acrylics because a lot of my acrylic technique builds on watercolor technique or comes from that. Okay. I did enjoy the years that I worked in oils. I have asthma though, so oils, I can work in them, but in a classroom with a bunch of people, it gets to me sometimes. And now we have the wonderful heavy-bodied or medium-bodied acrylics that we can work with, like with the oil technique. So probably acrylics and watercolor. I think I would love colored pencil more if I had the time to dabble in it more. I enjoy the classes that I've had and I do love it, but I just don't have the time to develop a lot of work in it.
Do you find that you are painting more for your students and for teaching than you are necessarily painting for yourself? Or do you, you know, what you're painting is for yourself and the teachers, the students just happen to love it?
Both. You know, your work can get so market driven that it could become a chore. I've never encountered that because I've always loved what I've painted, but I think I'm less market driven now than I was in the early days of working in the market. It's kind of like, okay, this is what it is. Either you like it
or you don't. Right, exactly.
It has to bring joy to you too, you know, as an artist before you can joyfully teach it to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. So how do you come up with your designs?
Creativity feeds on creativity, I believe. Everything we see in the world, in illustration, on television, people passing by, architectural things, all of those things we take in, I believe, and the ideas then come and flow from that. I do use a camera a lot for things where I want accuracy, for if I were painting birds or flowers, something that I want to be very accurate. So I think a camera is a very good tool for me.
So do you set up your still lifes when you do them? Do you set them up in a setting and then take pictures of it from different angles with different lighting?
We certainly do.
Wow.
Maggie can attest to that because she's the one working the lights. It's her arms that get tired.
That's amazing. That's wonderful.
And that's fun too, because sometimes you think, okay, this is the shot I'm going to do. And when you see the photographs, you see something really interesting from a different angle and your mind totally changes about how you're going to approach that. So it's a fun process to use the camera with your art.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. I know that I've taught, I know several people who do that. And I, again, am amazed. I need to get into that more. So do you have a favorite technique?
I like layering. In oils, of course, you put down a layer, you allow it to dry, you use some sort of glazing medium and you glaze with a medium. In acrylics and watercolor, you're glazing mostly with water. And they keep a very soft appearance and almost look like an oil if you layer many quick layers. And it is a type of glazing. And occasionally I'll use like a blending and glazing medium, but not very frequently. Mostly I just do it with water.
And that, I bet you a lot of people love you for that, because I mean, when you start introducing those mediums, they're like, you know.
I'm not patient enough to wait on them to dry like they. And if you move through the painting, move throughout the painting and do a step here, a step there, and allow for drying time, then, you know, water's great. It gives you enough time.
So Bridget asks, do you find acrylics difficult to correct?
No, I don't. They're not as forgiving as watercolors, obviously, because they won't move once they're dry, and watercolor you can move, but there's always a way to correct. And I have some correcting tools that I use in acrylics a lot.
Good. Well, then we're probably going to experience some of those in our upcoming classes.
Yeah, you are. You are. Yeah.
What is your favorite brush? Do you have a favorite brush?
My go-to brushes are angulars, synthetic angulars, and acrylics, rounds, and I do use all sable rounds, no matter what medium I'm painting in, just because I think they last longer and hold their points longer. And so in watercolor, oils, or acrylics, I use sable rounds. I use a lot of mops, little round mini mops. Those are probably my three most used brushes. And then, of course, you know, occasionally I'll pick up a rake or a comb or a filbert, those types of brushes. But the angulars, the rounds, and the mini mops are the three that I use. My go-to brushes.
Yeah. So I have a personal question. How do you clean your mini mops?
Okay, I happen to use Purell.
Ah.
I use hand sanitizer, but you have to be sure you get one that has no moisturizer in it.
Oh.
You don't want, for your acrylics, you don't want, you know, or for any mop, you don't want one with moisturizer in it. Okay. And so that's what I use, because I use so many mops and so many mini mops. I can't make the dip. My southern draw won't do a difference in those two sounds, but you know, you want it to dry quickly so that I don't have 45 mops to clean at the end of the day.
Because yeah, I find that I don't clean mine on time, so I have little pieces of paint stuck to the bottom of the hairs, and it's like I need to really clean those. Let's see. I have some other questions from the audience. What are the tools that you use for correction? Bridgie asks.
This is a small one that's been sharpened many times, but this is a stick eraser, a pencil eraser. For many years, I used typewriter erasers until they disappeared from the market, of course. But this is by Faber-Castell, and I use that to erase with, and then moon scrubbers. They're great to soften color with, or to totally take it off with. Those are my two go-to correcting tools.
There you go. Clean. Nancy is asking, I've painted with Brenda on both wood and porcelain. Brenda, do you still paint on porcelain?
Not so much. You know, we imported porcelain for many years, and our factory closed overseas, and we tried other factories and couldn't find anything that came up to the quality. So I felt like God was closing that door after we fought that for a couple of years. But I love it. As I said, my grandmother was into China painting, and I don't have the temperament for China painting because I'm not that patient to have to fire, you know, so many times and have colors change and that kind of thing. So I always tried, I think, to replicate that look with oils and acrylics on the porcelain bisque. I would probably still paint on it more if I could get the products that I could at one time.
Very good. Carolyn is asking, which brand of moon scrubbers do you use?
These are Sharp. Most of the brushes that I use are Sharp brushes.
Very good. So let's see. If you have questions, yeah, we're taking them. Nancy writes, I still have that piece in my bathroom today with the bird and roses on porcelain heart we did. Love it.
What?
Nancy, she must have painted with you a bird and a rose.
Oh, okay.
On a porcelain heart. I'm sure you've done a bazillion, right? We don't even know how many you've done, right? Do you carry the correction tools on your website?
We do.
Okay, so you've got brendastewart.com in the top of this post, so you can then you can go there. Let's see. Janice says, Brenda, still have and still love the porcelain bowl with peach tulips done in your class at NET in 2001.
Yeah.
And it says it was in my novice years. You made the most impression on me than any other teacher I have had over the years. You are a wonderful teacher. I thank you for your patience with me. I was an absolute wreck before you showed me I could do a new technique.
Thank you so much.
Janice is a wonderful person and she's a beautiful painter now. So
and everybody has to start somewhere, right?
Yes.
We all do. And now particularly that there are not as many classes out there for people to start, to get a start in.
Right. And Pauline says, sad about the not painting on porcelain anymore, that you can't get the porcelain is because your soft work on porcelain is exquisite. So thank you so much, everyone, and keep the questions coming. We've got a whole, 35 more minutes to go. So keep them coming. I'm on number 11 of 17. So I need all the help I can get. So I have one here. What is your best tip and who gave it to you? Like what, person that gave you a tip, what was the best one that a person's ever given you? And then you can share with everyone what your best tip is.
Oh, goodness. That's tough. I know what I like to tell the students in class, and it doesn't have to do with a painting tip. It has to do with a mental outlook. And that is that different is not wrong. If your piece is different than your neighbor's piece or different from my piece, I kind of think that's to be desired. Now, different can become so different that it is wrong, and then we have to correct or adjust it a little bit. So within reason, but that's something that I think we don't want always cookie cutter paintings. We like to see different personalities and emerge in people's paintings. So that has to do more with mental, a mental tip.
But it's a very good tip. I mean, it really is.
Yeah. And the other thing was when I was a kid and I was studying with a teacher, she had what she called, it was watercolor. And she had this crying towel. It was a towel that she'd painted a big eye and some tears on. And every now and then, if somebody started grumbling or muttering, or I don't like this, oh, I'm not doing a good job, or this, that, the other, she would just, wherever she was in the classroom, she might be helping someone, she would pitch that at them. It might land in their watercolor palette. It was all paint spattered. And you learned early on, not to do that. But I learned so much from her. She had a lot of great techniques like that. She'd say, you need variety, and just things that put the point across to the students. So I think I learned more about teaching from her than I did anybody else, about ways to get things across to students.
That's a good lesson. That really is a good
That
lesson.
doesn't have anything to do with painting tips, I realize, but.
No, it doesn't. I did not say your best painting tip. I just said your best tip.
Don't be hard on yourself. You know, the other thing we teach our beginners is if somebody comes up and pays you a compliment and says, oh, you did a great job on that. And you immediately saying, oh, well, it wasn't as good as the teachers. And you should have seen Mary Jane's next to me. And, you know, I goofed right here. We said, just bite your tongue and say, you didn't have to pat yourself on the back and say, oh, yes, isn't it wonderful? But you could just say something like, thank you, I enjoyed painting it, or I had fun painting it. So to break yourself of that habit of tearing down your own work and being your worst critic.
That is a good one. We do that, don't we? As women, we always do, and we're always apologizing or always telling everybody what our faults are.
Even when we cook, we do that. Well, you know, I got too much salt this time.
Right.
Whatever.
So one of our viewers would like to know, how much time do you spend painting each day?
Some days, none. It's in spurts because unfortunately the business end of things can rear its ugly head and you have to not paint on some days. And I have to set a timer now when I paint to get up and move because I have some back and spinal issues. So, but all in all, if I'm on a roll with painting, I can spend the whole day, you know, really getting into the designing and the painting. But the painting doesn't always take as long as the designing does. Sometimes the designing takes longer.
Yes.
And I consider that all a part of the project, or the painting.
I agree. I want to look at some of the other comments. There's so many. We were up to like 62 people in the room, so I'm like just going through. Everyone is saying hi, so you're going to want to go back, and they're paying you wonderful compliments. You're going to want to go back and read them.
That's sweet. I appreciate that.
From across the country, which is nice about social media because they're from across the country.
Oh, yeah.
East Coast to West Coast, right? Okay, so I'm going to move on, and to the next question is there a medium, a subject, or a technique that you would like to try that you haven't done yet?
I haven't really done much in pastels, and Lydia's kind of got me itching to try those. I did a little bit years ago, and I already had said I'd like to do more colored pencil. Other than that, I think I'm pretty well satisfied with the things I'm working in and on. As far as techniques, I'm always trying something different. I love to experiment. I love to see what I can come up with to do things a little bit differently. I love learning new things. So, but as far as mediums are concerned, I think other than colored pencil and pastels, I'll probably stick with watercolor and acrylics and the occasional oil.
There you go. I know that in part you're here in it because I wanted to learn more about your artful journey, but you're also going to be teaching online live classes with Artful Webinars. And so that answers one of our lovely viewers' questions. Yes, she will be teaching an Artful Webinar. Do you have it there that you can show and tell?
I do. I have it kind of set up for efficiency here. So you're going to see the demo first, which is, let me switch cameras here.
So pick the one that's not checked off. There you go.
Well, it's not coming up for me.
Yep. No, I see it.
Oh, can you see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing you. All right. That was confusing me. This is the demo for Thursday night, and there are two versions of it, a short version and a long version. And we've already had lots of orders on it. there is a recording, and Cindy, you can leave that up for a month if you want to.
Thank you.
And the girls can go back and watch it because it's a pretty fast-paced recording. But it's a lot of fun and a very easy technique. Not everything has to be hard and difficult. And this is pretty easy, but it does introduce some of my basic techniques. And then this is what we're teaching, what I'm teaching for the webinar in October. And it's the Santa, the good introduction to the layering and glazing techniques that I've talked about earlier, a good introduction to a Santa face, a good introduction to hair, which sometimes hair gives people more problems than the face itself. So, you know, you get a lot of hair on Santa and not quite so much face. And then we have the little stars that can be done with it if you wish, because you can do a lot of different versions of this. So this is what's coming up.
And the date on that, the first date was October 4th, and I believe that's sold out. And I think we're almost sold out of the second date as well.
Oh, are you? Okay, and I forgot about the sellout. Boy, that was a shock to me. So that it fell so fast. So, but I'm thrilled, and thank everyone for all their support with all of this. Also, can't get used to this screen being.
It's backwards, but it's okay because
yeah.
Yep, that's just fine. So that is, I just think he is so handsome, and the fur on his hat, his hair, mustache, you know, the beard, mustache, and his eyes. I mean, it's just.
So, someone commented, I always look at all the comments, that they missed the glasses on him. And I didn't put glasses on him on purpose because I wanted to concentrate on teaching a good eye lesson. So if I go back and find that comment, I'm going to comment to her that she can always put glasses on hers.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
I like him. This is in his younger years when he didn't need, he had 20/20 vision.
That's right. Or either he's had cataract repair.
There's that too, right?
That's right.
So Bridget's asking, how much time does the prep work take? Do you have it? Well, I mean, that's kind of like a wild card question because it depends on how fast or how slow of a painter you are. But how much average prep work is on Happy Christmas?
I did quite a bit of prep, and the video is long, but it won't take you that long to do it because I tend to believe in showing everything on the videos. But I did as much prep work as I felt like the people could handle on their own, so that we'd have more time to concentrate on the more important things. I would say you should be able to easily sit down in an afternoon and complete the prep work. Even, you know, base coating the stars, which are not part of the prep work that you have to do before class. But while I'm base coating, I usually base coat everything. But for the Santa, you could easily finish it in, I think, 3-4 hours, the prep work at most at the outside.
And everyone, Brenda has given us the video on how to prep and how much prep you are going to need to do. She's given us the video on how to do those lovely stars. And she's also given us a video on stenciling. So when you sign up for this class, you will get access to 3 videos right from the get-go, plus the full pattern packet with the color photos and line drawings. Yep.
And there are 2 sizes of Santa, and if you order the stencils, there's 2 sizes of stencils. And we offer things in a lot of different ways. It's not just a kit, but they're all offered different in different ways on the website, so that you can order what you want. The orders have been a little overwhelming. Unfortunately, we are out of texture paste. We are hoping against hope to get some in before the webinar in October from Deco Art, but you know, Deco Art is only partially operational right now, and as far as they're having to operate under certain guidelines for manufacturers. So we just don't know what we're going to get in, but I'm hope you can always wait a little while and put your stenciling on.
So Linda, thank you, Linda, the assistant here, for helping me. She posted that the Happy Christmas Acrylics is October 23rd and 30th from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, 4 to 7 Pacific. And what we did was we broke up, this is a 6-hour class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we broke it up into 2 sessions, so 2 shorter sessions, so they'll each be 3 hours. So, you know, that is, I think, in some cases a lot better, that you can get away from it a little bit and then come back refreshed and start. And it always looks better, I swear, when you come back to it, right? Okay.
Good morning.
Yes, and then you have, you're part of the Ornament series, Artful Webinars Ornament Series, and that you'll be teaching. It's not up for registration yet, but it's adorable.
I have him, probably could get a little closer here. I've got things covered up. Yeah, this is Tucker. He's a tuckered little teddy. So I named him Tucker. He will have, he's a wooden cutout ornament. And on the back, I'll probably do a little Christmas saying of some sort. This was painted before I actually got the woodcut in. So I haven't had a chance to go back and finish the woodcut itself. And, but he's a lot of fun, pretty simple.
And unfortunately, he won't be available to register for the class until next year. And the class is scheduled for November 16th of 2021. So the registration for that will open up probably 2 months before that date. But he is adorable. And now, did you use a pen?
No, this one is not pen and ink. This one, you know, has the brown inking on it. But no, that's just line work. You know.
And what kind of ink did you use on the Harvest one?
The Harvest Time is the Micron Pigba brown pen. I used a 01, and then I suggested if people were heavy-handed, they might want the 005 for the lighter lines inside.
And how do you seal that before? I mean, like, because
you don't have to. Just let it cure for a little bit before you start painting. It's fine, particularly with acrylics. Yeah, I didn't. So
you do the inking before the acrylic?
I did, yeah.
Oh.
And the girls, we've had quite a few orders for the tutorial, and I've asked them if they want to try to paint it all Thursday night, and some of them may just watch Thursday night and paint later, to do the pen and ink first and have it done ahead of time before the demo. Mm-hmm. But there is a photograph that shows just the pen and ink.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yes, I encourage people to watch, learn, and then paint. So Brenda's letting us have the video up for the month, so you can go back and start and stop it and watch it at your leisure. Very good. So then I have, where else are you teaching? We had a question from one of the guests here asking if you're teaching in Williamsburg.
This year, our seminars thus far have had to all be suspended, of course. But yes, I do still run a seminar program here, and we hope to continue that again next year. We have dates next year, and we have put those out in the newsletter, and I believe Jackie has them up on the website. And our chapter seminars this year have all been rescheduled into next year. So everything's been, you know, shuffled as much as possible. But I still do a few travel seminars, not as many as I did in the early years. But and of course, I have lots of classes planned for Zoom. I think I'm supposed to do 2 for you next year. So
I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be wonderful. Ellen is asking, do you ever paint just for fun?
I always have fun when I paint. So, you know, as far as I do things for my grandchildren sometimes, and I've done portraits of them, that type of thing that never sees the light of publishing day, you know, but everything I do is I enjoy, because I just won't stay with it if, you know, I won't do it if I don't enjoy it. So it's all fun.
Yep.
I've been told I have a warped sense of fun sometimes, but some of my students have told me that. But anyway, it's all fun to me.
Nancy's asking, does Robert still help you?
Oh, yes. Now, we're not doing the shows much anymore, but he still is our packing and shipping department. And he's, you know, he's always said he's the wind beneath my sails, and he very much is.
So has he retired from all of this then?
From all of this? No.
That's what Nancy's asking. Has he retired from all of this?
No, he still helps a tremendous amount at the seminars, and, you know, hauling stuff and packing and shipping, that kind of thing.
And we need people like that.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see, we've covered the where can people find you? I did post your brendastewart.com. Is there, do you have a Facebook page? Are you on?
I do have a Facebook page. It's just under my name, Brenda Stewart, and it's multifunctional. I should probably change that. I don't do a lot on Etsy and the other, just don't have time. And I think if I loaded Jackie down with any more computer stuff, she might mutiny and on me and leave. I just can't, you know, she does all the editing of the videos and everything. So, you know, with my help, with my input.
Do you have a lot of the videos, lessons on your website then?
Just a few right now. And where we're headed more with that is doing tutorials that have video enhancement with them. Maybe not, you know, the whole thing, but showing certain sections of it. And that's probably what we will do more and more of in the future.
So you'll keep that on your website, and it's like a paid per view. If you buy the tutorial, you get access to the video.
Yes,
okay.
Right.
Versus doing a YouTube.
Well, we have some YouTube things out there, and I probably need to do more of that too. But the tutorial type things we have kept mainly on the website.
Okay, cool.
She gives them an access code, and then they can go in and change their password and all of that good stuff that I don't have to bother with.
So have you gone totally digital pattern packets now, or do you still?
No. We still do some hard copies, and you'd be surprised at the number of hard copies we still sell, because I think many of our people that have been in painting for a long time still do not do a lot of computer.
Mm-hmm.
And we get really tickled sometimes. The people will order the e-tutorial, and then they'll tell me that they don't have a printer, or they don't have a color printer, or, you know, it's really kind of funny. But, you know, we just kind of say, okay, well, we can, if you want to pay the shipping, we can send you the other one, you know. But we do them both. And as I'm not going to change that yet, because Robert will still package ship.
So as long as Robert ships, we're doing hard copies.
Yeah, right.
Well, I know, because a lot of artists have gone totally digital, and I understand what the customers don't always have the ability to print it. So,
you know, I'm really picky about my photography in our packets. If you've ever bought any of our hard copy packets, we work really hard. Sometimes, you know, I'll do 20 test prints getting that to print the way I want it to print. And you don't know what the students are going to get. But then on the other hand, shipping is getting so expensive that many people don't want to pay the shipping. So you have to turn loose of that control.
Well, yeah, and it seems to be getting worse before it gets better, right?
Exactly.
So Nancy's asking, are any more books in the works, or just packets now?
Don't intend to ever do another book. Been there, done that many, many times. No. No more.
That was a quick answer. Is anyone else in the audience? Again, thank you all for being here tonight and learning about Brenda as I have been. And it's been a wonderful time here talking with you, Brenda. So if anyone else has any questions that we didn't get to answer, feel free to put them in the comments and I will ask them for you. If not, you can go ahead and if you're watching this on the replay, you can put your comments, questions down there, and periodically Brenda will come back and she will look at them and answer them. So you will, don't be afraid to ask questions, right? Is there anything else? I mean, I've asked all the questions I can think of, and I am so honored. I took a class with you once in Las Vegas, and I still put my piece out. Oh, Hoot, sorry. Yes, Hoot. And I put my piece out every year. I have yet to try the gold leafing since that class. I don't think I mean, yeah, it's not my forte. And, but I love that piece, and you're always with me every year. You're with me. So, in your teachings every day, the teachings. So I think
I appreciate you giving me the nudge to try Zoom and to learn another new thing.
and that's my niche. As although I always thought I don't want to do the computer, I just want to teach and everything. But once I started, I found Zoom and I started doing this. I really enjoy this. I found my home, and it's a form of art. It's not the form of art that's actually painting, but it is a form of art, and I can bring the teachers to the students. That is my goal, to be that bridge, to bridge that gap so that you have so much knowledge and passion and wanting to share with them, and they so much are a sponge and want to learn. I needed to bridge that gap. And I also am trying to, and will try to very hard to keep the classes to a maximum of 30-35 students, so that the students can have a relationship with you and other teachers in Artful Webinars. That's so important to me, that you can bond with the students and they with you, and ask questions and get critiques. And so that's my promise to the teacher and my promise to the students.
Well, you're doing a good job of it. And we've probably pestered you more than anybody else.
No, you have not. It's always been a pleasure. It's always been a pleasure. Let's see what, this is great. Cindy, thanks for doing this. You're welcome. Thank you. Miss Stewart, having a wonderful evening. They're having a wonderful evening. What is a penetrating wood sealer? Hold on. Is it oil-based?
Penetrating wood sealer is a mixture usually of clear or white shellac and denatured alcohol. We had one on the market for many years, Designs from the Heart was the name of it. We mix our own now, but we do not ship it. And I've told the girls that if they do not have a penetrating wood sealer, that I would rather that they use no wood sealer, just use the Decorative paint, which has some sealer in it. I do not care for water-based sealers, because I don't care how many coats of stuff you put on top of them. My acrylic techniques still behave differently. You want some tooth. And you lose that tooth when you immediately put a water-based sealer on wood. So it's a little more slippery and not the best thing when you're using the kind of techniques that I use. So that's the long and the short of it. Yeah, more than you asked, more than you wanted to know.
Well, and that's why I say you are full of knowledge and willing to share. And so that's what makes you a beautiful person, you know, and a wonderful, wonderful teacher. So we appreciate the long answers.
Well, you got a lot of them tonight.
Well, not long enough because we still have 5 minutes left to this interview.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Spread it out a little bit more. Let's see what we have over here. Okay. See, much appreciated. Okay, I love Zoom. Everyone has a front row seat. Yes. And you always have all your supplies, never anything left behind, which because you're in the comfort of your own home.
Yeah.
Someone asked earlier, are they going to be needing the moon scrubber and the eraser tool in class for the Happy Christmas?
It depends on if you have corrections to make or not. So
if you don't make any mistakes, you won't have to use them, right?
Right. Yeah. But you know, they are my basics. You know, these are basic things in my repertoire of supplies.
So Nancy's saying that she loves all the pieces that she did taking classes from you, and they're always in her room. They're always out. So yeah, she leaves them out. So she sees you every day with her. It's amazing how that you don't know how many lives you've touched and how much joy you've brought to people.
The students are what keep us going. And the fact that somebody does enjoy what you do and that it does give them painting growth. And, you know, I've seen so many women over the years that we had the shop. We had a shop for 15 years. And I've seen so many women come into their own and come out of their shells with painting. And it supplies a different need in everybody. And, you know, cheaper than therapy, but it's wonderful. I think we all need to be creative in some way. So
yes,
it's just one way to be creative and fill that need.
Definitely. So don't hesitate to sign up for her classes. The online ones are through Artful Webinars. And well, first off, let's say here in this Facebook group on Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific is the autumn. What did you call it? Autumn?
Harvest time.
Harvest time. There you go. Harvest time. I'm think autumn, but harvest time.
Yeah.
Yes. And you could show it again. More than
okay.
Yeah. So that is going to be a watch, learn, and paint with Brenda Stewart here in the group. Just like you found this by scrolling down the main page, you'll find hers. It'll say probably a purple banner across the bottom of the video, and it'll say watch party. And she will be joining us, even though it's a pre-recorded video, she will be joining us and answering your questions while we watch it together. Like all you need is a bowl of popcorn. So, and then on the Artful Webinars, which is a pay-per-view program, you can sign up for her Happy Christmas. The first date is sold out, but the second date we split into 2 classes. So it's 2 Friday nights, I believe, the 23rd and 30th. Thank you, Linda. 23rd and 30th. So there are still seats available in that, I believe. And you can sign up to paint with Brenda and be on the lookout next year. She's got a couple more Artful Webinars up her sleeve. And we can't wait to see what those designs are going to be. So let's see, Sally Robinson Myers, we have already asked that question. Sorry, that was a repeat. Let's see, being able to learn from someone like Brenda this way is a blessing. I only started painting a few years ago and never got to conference. That was from Ellen.
Thank you, Ellen.
So thank you, Ellen. So thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, everyone. And always remember to paint with heart. And we'll see you all Thursday night right here in this Facebook group.
Thank you for coming. Bye. Bye, Cindy. Thanks.